Maybe he has vanished, dissolved into someone else's life, leaving you surrounded by unanswered questions. Maybe he is happy with another woman, or simply erased you from his screen like an unwanted chapter. Yet there is one crucial thing you have not understood. The instant a woman stops hunting for love outside herself and begins constructing an inner temple of dignity, she becomes a magnet. Not through weakness, but through strength, she no longer waits for anyone to return. She becomes the one to whom people return. That feeling, as if you were devalued, replaced, discarded, is piercingly familiar. But do not confuse pain with the end. This is not a finale, it is a challenge, a transition. How you respond now will determine everything. You will either rise or beg, drown in messages like ice-cold water, or walk ashore, naked yet free. Pain demands action, but most choose flight. They write, they call, they reach out, as if another soul could complete their incompleteness. What you truly need is the opposite. Stop, close every window to the outside, and open the door within. Every humiliation, every impulse to explain is a betrayal of yourself. That is not love. It is the fever of dependency. Do you recognize it? Do not be ashamed. Almost everyone passes through this, but not everyone emerges. You will. From today, you stop fighting for attention and become the center of gravity. Silence is your first step, not a sulk, but a choice. In that quiet, you do not lose yourself. You recreate yourself. You do not have to be a guru. You do not need to turn into a motivational speaker. You need only one honest admission. I am value. I am not a commodity, not a role, not an emotion, but an entire inner universe. A woman who does not beg for love becomes its source. She does not demand, she fills the space with her being. This video is not for those wanting someone back. It is for those wanting to reclaim themselves. Because when you need no one but yourself, that is when you become truly desired. Lesson 1. The power of silence. Not silence born of pain, but silence born of clarity. A stillness in which you do not disappear. You take shape, and only then are you truly heard. When he left, you probably did what almost everyone does. Ran after him, demanding explanations, begging for a chance, as though your very life depended on his staying. Yet in that noise, tears, messages, a trembling voice, he heard not love, but weakness, desperation. And desperation, however touching, is the most repellent scent that can emanate from a woman. Listen closely. When you go silent, you do not vanish, you make impact. It is not the silence of defeat, but the silence of power. Emotional silence is a refusal to feed the fire that only devours your energy. And when someone accustomed to your constant background, your messages, your care, your attempts to reach him, suddenly confronts silence, it resounds louder than any reproach. Anxiety arises within him. Why isn't she looking for me? Where did she go? What if she no longer needs me? Or has someone else taken my place? This is the art of letting go. Authentic, subtle. It is not disappearance. It is contrast, as though every day you walked a roaring city street and suddenly everything fell silent. You cannot help turning around. You cannot help sensing that something vital has disappeared. Epictetus said, "First understand what you wish to say, and then speak." Sometimes the strongest message lies in saying nothing at all. Let your absence speak for you. Let him decide what it means. Men are adept at filling in blanks, especially when deprived of accustomed attention. Do you know what happens? When the one who always answered instantly suddenly disappears, the space beside her turns into a vacuum, and a human being cannot tolerate emptiness. He begins searching, not for you, but for answers. Where are you? Why are you no longer there to feed his sense of importance? You become not a message, but a thought, not a reminder, but a question. That is where transformation begins. I know a girl who was blocked everywhere possible. She staged no scene, sent no tear-soaked voice notes, waged no battles. She retreated into silence, into work on her body, mind, finances, dreams. 2 months later, he returned with the banal excuse, "I dreamed about you." That was no dream. It was the result, the force born in silence. Silence is not merely a way to endure. It is a tool of creation. While you are quiet, you rebuild yourself, strong, whole, irreplaceable. What happens inside always reveals itself outside. Your soul changes, but so do your stride, your gaze, your very breath. And this new energy is felt even from a distance. Believe me, sister, a man feels it in his gut. Silence is not passivity. It is mature, concentrated strength. It is not a pause, it is a charge, a delayed action emotional weapon. From today, release the impulse. Do not text him good morning. Do not send memes. Do not drop hints. Become emotionally invisible, not out of revenge, but out of respect for yourself. Delete his number, if necessary, not to forget him, but to remind yourself. You are not a stream of cheap availability, you are a source that cannot be reached casually without a conscious decision. Every day of your silence should equal 10 days of inner evolution. Understand, every message, every explanation is not just words. It is a signal. I cannot live without you. That signal destroys your power, for in the realm of desire, the self-sufficient triumph, not the needy. We do not reach for what lies at our feet. We strive for what requires effort. Strategic silence is a diet for the soul. At first it breaks you, hurts, pulls you toward him like a habit, but then, within that stillness, you rebuild, cleaner, more luminous, inside and out. And that energy never goes unnoticed. It is sensed like a fragrance suddenly drifting through the air. It whispers, I do not need, I choose. So stop talking, stop proving. Let your absence speak. Let it be louder than words. A woman who masters silence commands. A woman who chases loses. The one who is silent and evolving remains in memory forever. Do not shout where you are not heard. Build a silence that deafens him. Lesson 2. Reverse psychology without games, only truth. When you step back, he unexpectedly steps forward. Familiar? You went offline, and suddenly he appeared. This is not coincidence or magic. It is human nature. People cannot tolerate emptiness, and when you cease being background, you become a mystery, and mysteries intrigue. He was used to you like a hallway light always on, then suddenly darkness. The sense of loss appears before understanding. This is the true power of distance, not manipulation but genuine influence. Not because you want to punish him, but because you have changed the rules. You no longer play his game. You create your own. You do not ignore, you release, not from pride, but from maturity. The one who never noticed your presence must one day face your absence without warning, as though sugar vanished from his coffee. At first he cannot tell what is wrong, but the taste changes and he notices. Silence breeds tension, contrast. Yesterday you were here, today you are gone. Instinct awakens, not love, instinct. When something disappears, we reach for it, not out of weakness, but because we are human. And you are the one who has learned to be human first for yourself. The male psyche is wired to chase the unattainable, nature's rule. The less access, the greater the interest. You disappear, and in his mind, like an empty room, feelings he thought long extinguished begin to echo. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." In your story, this means you will not break into hysteria, play manipulations, or fall to your knees and pleas. You respond with ringing silence. You respond by being present in your own life. You do not explain, you transform. You become the woman whose calm defies analysis, whose energy is no longer invested in holding on, but in building. And that frightens him, because the dynamic has shifted. You no longer react, you choose, not because you are playing, but because you have found your inner center. I know a woman who endured a breakup, wrote poems, sprinkled hints in her stories, waited until the crucial moment arrived. Silence. Real silence. No checking whether he viewed her posts. She went to the gym, launched a project, vanished from his emotional radar. And 2 weeks later, nothing from her, no anxious call, because she was out of reach. She did not just leave, she became someone else. Anything unstable and unpredictable sparks anxiety, drawing him back, not to the old you, but the new you. Inner change always creates outer resonance. Your task is not to wait, not to watch his stories, not to quiz mutual friends, not to decode hints, but to live so that each day without him strengthens your value. You do not distance yourself out of spite. You shift focus. You orbit him no longer. You stand at the center of your life. You update your thinking, priorities, desires. You are no longer the one waiting for an answer. You are the one shaping your destiny. That independence is what makes you magnetic. Do not ask to be remembered. Become the woman impossible to forget, because you changed more than the rules, you changed yourself. Lesson 3. The power of emotional scarcity. The human psyche is simple. What is scarce is valued more. The air we breathe goes unnoticed until it is gone. So with you, while you were always there, you were background, a habitual part of the scenery. Now you have vanished, and your lack has become his inner deficit. because abundance devalues and rarity ignites desire. Perhaps you never thought about it, but once someone gasps even a few seconds, they truly understand that air is a gift. The same is true of your emotional presence. While you are near, you are like background music, pleasant but easily lost in daily noise. When you go quiet, silence appears, and his thoughts begin to speak. He does not understand. Why don't you answer first anymore? Why has the shadow that was always beside me disappeared? Have you left for good? Instead of familiar certainty, you become a mystery. Habit starts itching inside him like a lost object suddenly needed. Like bread always on the shelf, nobody notices it until it is gone. Then the household begins a search. This is not manipulation. It is a universal principle, like a law of physics. When something diminishes, its value skyrockets. Not because it changed, but because its lack reveals true importance. Seneca was right. We rarely value what is always at hand. True maturity is not making yourself rare for praise, but choosing yourself. A woman true to herself does not play hide and seek. She simply moves forward. Her absence speaks louder than any declaration of love. This holds beyond relationships. Notice whom we respect most. Those who do not scatter themselves, who choose where and with whom to be. Those who have no time for the trivial end up having everything because they safeguard what matters. I know a woman who stopped being available around the clock. No extremes, she simply began living her life. Gym, new projects, travel. He watched silently. Then he texted, "Are you okay?" But the answer no longer mattered. She was too far away, not in kilometers, but in self-awareness. Abundance relaxes, scarcity awakens. You used to be easy prey, now you are a challenge. He starts thinking, guessing, missing you because you are no longer a habit, you are an opportunity he may already have lost. Start simple. Do not answer immediately. Do not rush to be available, not for revenge, but for the architecture of a new self. Let him learn what it is like to search for you, not the old you, but the one you are creating now. If he wants to be near, let him catch up. Do not play games, transform. This is not about artificially creating distance, but about truly returning to yourself, claiming your space, your energy, your time. Do not wait for his messages. Build your inner empire. When your focus is growth, emotional scarcity arises naturally as a byproduct of new concentration. You simply have no resources left for doubt, checks, pleading. Everything pours into you. Emotional unavailability is not coldness, it is clarity. This is maturity. You no longer offer yourself in exchange for attention. While everyone else chases someone, you dive deep. That is not merely attractive, it is magnetic. You stop handing yourself out for pennies. You become a treasure that cannot be ignored. Lesson 4. Rebirth, not for him, but for yourself. He might return, but not to the woman he left. He will return to someone unrecognizably changed. Too many women hope for his return without changing a thing. But if you remain the same, why would he come back? He left once already. The reason was that something in you had lost its light, and he sensed it. Your new self is not a role or a show. It is the result of an inner overhaul, no mask, but a metamorphosis. It cannot be faked. It happens when you are alone and unafraid of solitude, when you haul yourself from the precipice and build a foundation no one can shake. This transformation is felt at a distance, not through photos or status, but through energy. He might not see you, but he will feel that you have changed. It is like passing a place that was once ruins and now stands as confident architecture. Anyone who once saw ashes cannot ignore the flame you have lit inside. And this is not about makeup or the gym. It is inner chemistry, turning pain into power, dependency into choice, fear into intent. This is the alchemy of maturity, and you are already in it, because true victory is not when he returns. It is when you no longer need him to. She started from rock bottom, changed her appearance, mastered a new profession, launched a project into which she poured all her pain, all of herself. A year later he returned, hoping to find the woman he once left. But that woman was gone forever. In her place stood someone collected, focused, indifferently beautiful. And what did she do? She smiled and thanked him, because without his departure she would never have awakened. He came seeking weakness and found a wall. He sought familiar dependence and collided with a new reality. She no longer needed him. This is not rare. It is a pattern, a universal algorithm. A woman who realizes that rejection is not a sentence but an open door, that pain is not an enemy but a lantern illuminating the path back to herself. And the most ironic part, sister, is that one day you will wake up and realize you do not care whether he returns, because all this time you were not searching for him. You were searching for you. Sit down today and list what in your appearance, mindset, and habits needs an upgrade. Work on it not to impress him, but to become the self no one can overlook, the one to whom people return not out of need but reverence. The path of inner rebirth is the hardest, yet the most foolproof. While others chase messages, you create breakthroughs. While someone waits for attention, you become what draws attention itself. That, sister, is the line between the one who begs and the one who chooses. Stop begging. Build yourself, so he asks, and you decide. A transformed woman is not a plea, she is a choice. Lesson 5. The trap of contact and the silence that rings. The most compelling thing is the unknown. What drives him mad is not what you said, but what you withheld. And what do most people do? They stay visible, liking, texting, maintaining contact, thinking presence leads to remembrance. No, it leads to indifference. He knows you are around, therefore you are not lost. And what is not lost is not valued. Real disappearance is not drama, it is strategy. No blocks, no tears, no last words, just absence. He remains on stage, you leave the theater. Then the magic begins, because the mind cannot bear emptiness. It fills it with stories. She's with someone else, she's forgotten me, why is she silent? Those questions pierce deeper than any speech. I miss you. You are a torn-off plotline, and the human brain suffers from the unfinished. It searches, guesses, invents. In that mystery arise not only desire but dependency. You are a riddle, a gap in the narrative. And believe me, he will scroll, search, return, not to yesterday's you, but to the one now inaccessible. When you fall silent, his inner voice begins shouting louder than anything you could say. Imagination, the old friend of anxiety, paints pictures. Who is she with? What does she feel? Has she forgotten me? Each guess colored not by facts, but by fears, regrets, insecurity. Your silence is not a pause, it is a stage, a blank canvas on which his mind paints a story of loss. Silence is a mirror. He looks and sees not you, but his own projections. That is why it is powerful. As Epictetus said, do not explain, live. You do not need to announce your disappearance, just disappear, not out of spite, but for truth. One woman, blocked everywhere, said nothing. She simply left empty space. Months later, he wrote from a fake account. Why? Because silence is a magnet. His inner anxiety is your silent ally. Everything he does not know becomes more significant than everything you ever said. He does not lose access to you. He loses control over his image of you, and that shock is devastating. When you stay connected, you soothe him with false stability. When you vanish, the threat of final loss emerges, and that makes even the surest men reconsider everything. But you do not merely disappear. You go build yourself, so that if he ever sees you again, he meets not the woman he knew, but one he can no longer comprehend, let alone forget. This silence is not a game, it is discipline. It demands each day be justified. If you are silent, it is because you are busy growing, not waiting. The woman who disappears actively creates a new self, brick by brick. She does not draft plans for a comeback. She builds a temple that might no longer have room for him. You cease to be the shadow of your past. You become your own axis. When you stop being a reaction to his behavior and become the consequence of your own will, you become magnetic, not because you try, but because you are whole. And sister, this is not manipulation. It is the return of sovereignty. Sovereignty over yourself, your life, your attention. When you choose silence, you choose clarity. You step out of outer chaos and into inner order. Silence is not punishment. It is liberation, an act of self-respect. From this moment, you no longer ask why he has not come back. You ask why you lived so long outside yourself. That question triggers the true homecoming. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, there will be tears. Yes, there will be nights without light. But dawn begins in the dark. Do not fear pain. Fear dissolving so deeply into it that you forget who you are. Pain unfelt becomes a wall between you and your future strength. Pain lived to the end becomes the fuel for your rebirth. This is no longer about getting him back. It is about getting yourself back and never losing you again. If he ever returns, he will not find the woman he left. He will not find a woman who waited, but a woman who moved forward. And you will no longer need his choice because you have made yours. You chose yourself. From that place of maturity, wholeness, inner calm, you will decide whether he deserves entry into your new reality. From today, everything changes. No more "what if he writes?" Instead, "what will I do for my strength today?" 7 days, that is your challenge. Not for him, for the woman you can become. Do not answer, do not check, do not reminisce, not because you're playing, but because you are healing. You are training the most important muscle, the ability not to betray yourself for fleeting attention. Each day you create momentum, breaking from old scripts. With every action you move closer to the woman who no longer needs approval to feel worthy. If you slip, do not blame yourself, just return. The path will not be smooth, but it is the path home to your power, your maturity, your authentic worth. You are not someone's possibility. You are yes. And when you begin living with that knowledge, everything in the world tunes itself to your new resonance. Remember, true love is not caught by chance. It is drawn to strength and clarity, to the inner radiance you already carry. It is time to stop hiding it. You are not starting over. You are starting as a woman who never again forgets who she is. And that alone is enough for the world to begin seeing you differently.